what's it like as a head coach when you play a team that isn't familiar with option-based offenses, and how much of an advantage can that be when, especially in a game like this?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a big advantage in the course of a season if a team has a week to get ready for you. I think in a bowl game it's a little bit different, Eric, just because obviously they've known that they're going to play us here for a little bit of time now, and so they got a little more time to prepare for it than a team may during the season. If that makes sense. Now, not to say the team that we play during the season can't work on it in the spring football or in a bye week or something like that, but typically, and the reason we do it obviously is because it's a little bit of an equalizer for us. But obviously, the more time the team has to get ready for it, the tougher that makes it for us.
My second question would be when we look at college football now with the transfer portal and teams, players leaving and everything. Two-part question. What's it like preparing for an Oklahoma team when you really personnel is going to change because you don't know who you're playing because of some of the opt-outs and some of the transfer portals? And secondly, how nice is it to be at an institution like Navy where that really isn't going to impact you like you're seeing it across the college football world?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Obviously, getting ready for Oklahoma, we're going through they're too deep and trying to figure out who's going to play and who's not. And so it's a little bit of a challenge in that regard. Of course, they are who they are from a schematic standpoint, but that could certainly change with a different quarterback. So there's a little bit of unknown there. And to answer your second question, one of the reasons why I love it here so much, first of all, the kind of young men we get to coach here is phenomenal. And secondly, we're not dealing with, not that the portal can't affect us. We certainly could have kids jump in the portal. We're not getting that, which is awesome. But it's, I spoke about this after the Army game. It's challenging to build a culture anywhere, in college football right now. And not to say that you can't do it. People certainly do, but one that's built on a certain level of trust, and love, amongst teammates, much less the coaching staff. Those things don't happen in a semester. It's difficult for those to happen quickly. Those things take time. And, the seniors that played for us on Saturday, man, they've been here for a while. They know each other really, really well. They're best friends. They're brothers. They trust each other. They play for each other. They know each other really, really well. They've been through a lot together. They fought through adversity. Nowadays it seems like if you have to fight through any adversity, well, you may just leave and go somewhere else and try to start over. If things aren't going the way you want them to, and these young men don't do that. They fight through it. They pay the price. They stay the course. They keep working. They keep getting better, and then they have an opportunity. And there's so much value in that. And unfortunately, a lot of young men aren't getting that in college football right now.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, before you turn the page to Oklahoma, looking back in the Army-Navy game, what impressed you the most about the total team effort coming out of that game?
There's a lot of things, Scott. I think I was so impressed with the way that our kids handled the moment. I think we took some valuable lessons from the Notre Dame game and the Tulane game, and we talked a lot about execution being more important than the emotion, and not letting the emotional piece play with you. I thought our kids did that. I thought they handled it really well. I thought the messaging, the last couple of weeks from our staff was on point. I think you saw that in the way we played. We wanted to go play fast and free. And when we game plan, you keep that in mind. So your kids can go play fast, not have to think too much, because you have a tendency, if you're not careful, to try to do too much schematically going into these games. And we intentionally did not do that. And with the way that they handled it, wanted to play without a fear of failure. Wanted to control our emotions during the course of the game, and wanted them to understand that everything wasn't going to go the way we wanted it to, and not to flinch and fight through adversity and respond the right way. And then, I thought going in this game, and I still do. Army's a really, really good football team. A really physical, well-coached football team, and I thought we physically dominated the game in the way that we blocked, the way we beat blocks, the way we got off blocks, the way we tackled, and thought we flew around, thought we played really, really hard. I like we looked like a team that wanted it a little bit more. Thought we really outplayed them in all three phases, and so I'm really, really proud of that because that's a good football team that we played Saturday.
What does it mean to the program to have the opportunity now in this bowl game against Oklahoma to join only 5 other teams in Navy history to have double-digit wins in a season?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I think it's the last time this team gets to play together, and they want to go out the right way, and it's a wonderful opportunity playing a team like Oklahoma, such a storied program and a really good football team, and it's our chance for our players to make a little history around here and finish this season off on a really, really high note. And it's our seniors' opportunity to continue to leave a legacy, which they talked about, all off season, and really proud of what they've done. And I think they certainly, regardless of the outcome of this game, they've done that. And so we're really proud of that. But man, it's a great reward to go be able to play in a bowl game. And but it's a game we want to go win, and we're going to prepare to win. And it's a great opportunity for us.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Wags.
So this is shaping up somewhat like 2019 in that you win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy and you have a chance to get double-digit wins and beat a power conference school. In that year, you beat Kansas State. Can you kind of talk about that? I mean, 2019 will always be looked upon as one of the greatest seasons in Navy history, and you have a chance to do a lot of the similar things.
Yeah, it's exciting to be in this position, Wags. It's been a really, really solid season. The games you lost, especially Notre Dame and Tulane, where you feel like you didn't put the best foot forward, kind of leaves you with a sour taste about part of the season. But the way our kids responded after those games, I was really impressed with. And the great thing for us is I thought Saturday was as well as we played all year. We just encapsulate all three phases of the game. I thought we played complementary football. I thought fundamentally we were strong. Our kids played exceptionally hard, played smart. And so I think we're peaking at a really good time right now, going into a bowl game. But yeah, it's a good feeling to be in this spot. Obviously, the CIC is our most important tangible goal, and to be able to accomplish that. I mean, it really makes you proud of your season for sure.
So obviously Navy has beaten power conference schools in bowl games. I remember when they beat Missouri in the Texas Bowl, I believe. Wasn't that Texas Bowl, Strauss?
Yes, sir.
Yes, in Houston. But that was a great victory. And obviously Kansas State in 19. Can you talk about what a notch on your belt that would be? I mean, anytime you beat a brand name program like Oklahoma, you've done something.
Yeah, no question. Like I said, it's a great challenge for us, and we're a super talented football team, very well coached football team. Great opportunity for us. You come to Naval Academy, and these are the kind of games that you dream to play in. Playing a storied program like this, and just a great opportunity and challenge for us, and we're super excited about it. And, really excited about playing in the Armed Forces Bowl. I think love what that bowl represents, and love that it's in Texas, and the fact that we get to play a team like Oklahoma is awesome.
Victoria Anderson.
Hi, Coach. I'm Victoria Anderson, a journalism student from the University of Oklahoma. My first question for you is, being an Oklahoma native and then getting to play college football in Texas, this game kind of feels like accumulation of your entire football journey. Have you had time to kind of reflect on what that means?
Yeah, I have. It's kind of full circle deal, Victoria. It's pretty neat. And like I said earlier, before the Zoom got started, I got family, a lot of family in Oklahoma, a lot of friends, and same thing in Texas. So I'm gonna have a pretty good contingency at the game. I don't know if I can get enough tickets, but super excited to get back to Texas. And we've got 30 players on our roster from Texas, Victoria, and it's an area that we recruit very, very heavily. And so get a chance to go back there and play in that bowl game and get some exposure down there is really great.
Thank you. And speaking of your family, I know you've said before that you have some alumna in your family from Oklahoma. What is the family group chat looking like right now? Is it split? Who's rooting for who?
Yeah. Well, everybody's rooting for now. We grew up big Sooners fans, but blood runs a little deeper than that, And so, yeah, my niece Hannah Crawford would have graduated last May. Unfortunately, she passed away before she was able to do that. Got an honorary degree, and the way that the folks at Oklahoma handled that was outstanding. It was phenomenal, and just the real connection to Oklahoma. My grandfather went there for a brief moment before he had to come back to the farm in the western part of the state to run that, and but grew up a big time Oklahoma fan. First college football game was an OU game, and it's right down the road from us. And there's no NFL teams in Oklahoma, Victoria. You grew up kind of rooting for the Cowboys because they're the kind of closest one. But I mean, the players and the coaches at Oklahoma were, they were rock stars. I can remember going to the movie theater. Best friend and I growing up on home games, they would go to this certain theater. It was Al 96. It's not open anymore. But not many people knew about that. They go to a team movie on Friday night, so we'd go plant ourselves in the theater. I can remember standing right next to Brian Bosworth, playing pole position. He still had the colors in his hair, if you guys remember that. So you guys aren't old enough to maybe remember that, but seeing Jamel Holloway walk in a full-length mink coat in the movie theater. So, no, I was a big fan growing up, and so it's kind of surreal to be playing them.
Thank you, Coach.
Joe Musada.
Yeah, Coach Joe Musada from the Oklahoman. I just wanted to follow up on some of that. Just kind of your upbringing, growing up in Moore, going to Westmore, playing for a state championship there. How did those sort of experience kind of shape you, and what influence did that have on kind of your career path?
Tremendous influence, and I had outstanding high school coaches at Westmore, and really those are the guys that kind of helped me choose that path because of the impact they had on me, the camaraderie they had amongst each other, and the way they treated the players. And it's pretty cool. I had two of my high school coaches from the Westmore days at the Army Navy game. Got to see them after the game on the field and celebrate with them. Todd Dilbeck coached the offensive line. David Jones was my quarterback coach. He's now a high school coach in Texas. So those guys got to be there and share that moment with me. But those are the guys, and that whole experience was really what got me or led me down the path of getting into coaching.
And just to follow up on that, I was been talking to some of your former teammates. Was talking to Jeff Frazier last night about playing with you, and I know you played with Brad Smith, obviously, and now coaching his son. Do you still kind of? I know you guys don't talk all the time, but do you still have those connections with some of those Westmore teammates?
Yeah, I sure do. Probably not as much as I would like to, but yeah, certainly Jeff Frazier was a phenomenal player at Westmore, and went on to be a great player at Oklahoma. And so him and I usually catch up with the holidays from time to time, or a phone call. And then Brad was at the game, obviously. This past weekend got to see him, and his son is here, which is very exciting. So yeah, I certainly keep in touch with some of those guys, and it's amazing how much I keep in touch with all those coaches. Wayne Estes was the head coach when I was there. I still talk to him. The list goes on and on. Not just coaches, but teachers I had there. It wasn't more phenomenal people.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
News 9, OKC. Do you guys have a question? Or are you just on? All right, we'll go to Dan Tortora.
Coach, for this season and really overall for the American Athletic Conference, there's the conversation that the competition within the conference doesn't really challenge like the other conferences do. Just what you can say to that effect of the American Athletic, what you see within the AAC, and what a win over Oklahoma being an SEC team can do, even more so for the AAC profile.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great league. First of all, Dan, very competitive league, and but yeah, when you get a chance to some of these non-conference games during the season. You get a chance to play some of these Power Four schools, and then you get in the bowl game and you get a matchup like this. It's an opportunity to represent your conference, and we certainly are proud to do that. And yeah, if you can get a win over a team like Oklahoma, I think it speaks to the strength of your conference and the talented teams that are in that conference.
And then as far as looking at this season overall, and like you said, speaking on your history and coming up the way you did as a kid, and did you ever see that you would have this moment that you would be the coach of a military academy and for something that was so far greater than football, and to have the representation in the country that you do have in the spot that you're in?
No, absolutely not. Beyond my wildest dreams, Dan. I'm living a dream every day, man. Like, I got to pinch myself some days walking to work here, and I have these overwhelming moments of just gratitude for where I'm at, and very, very fortunate that I get to work here. I get to coach these young men, get to be around this staff on a daily basis. It's one of those jobs where you don't feel like it's work, and so that's never lost on me how fortunate I am to be here. And listen, I've worked really hard throughout my entire career, and I've had a lot of different jobs. I've come up the hard way, but even so, it's still it's just a blessing to be here. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, we'll make another trip around. We'll stick with two. Eric Daly.
I just have one, and I want to ask you, and you talk about your days at Westmore. I want to ask you about the 91 state title game. Tough loss.
Yeah, you had to go there, Eric.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Someone texted me and told me about this. So I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah.
Goal line stand. Just what do you remember about that game that year? And does that help make you a better player overall in the future going through that adversity?
Sure. I think any adversity that we go through in life makes us better, if we respond to it the right way. But yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. I can tell you every little detail of having the ball in the last play of the game and not getting the end zone and what that felt like. And something like that stays with you, but I have nothing but great and fond memories of my time there. And I can go back and think about, the 2 field goals we missed in that game or the wide open pass that, I didn't throw a lot of them perfectly on target, but I did throw one that didn't get caught, and so, but it was a crazy season. We were a relatively new high school at the time. It was the third year that Westmore was in existence. So for us to even be there, it's kind of a fairy tale story. I think we went into the playoffs that year with a 5-5 or a 6-4 record, and just went on a run, in the playoffs. And so we were kind of playing with house money, and but really thought we outplayed that team in the state championship. Just didn't finish, which would have been great. And I wish we'd have gotten that state championship for our coaching staff more than anything, because they were a phenomenal group of coaches, man. They really were. To get us there in the third year of existence of that program was quite the feat. I'm just disappointed we couldn't finish it.
Well, I'm sorry to bring that up, but
That's okay.
Thanks for the story.
Yeah,
hey, have a good Christmas, okay?
Thanks, Eric. You too.
Scott Wyckoff. You're muted, Scott.
It's taking lessons from Wags. Yeah. Put your glasses on there, Scott. You find the button.
There we go. Sorry about it. Coach, a defensive coordinator turned head coach like yourself, Brent Venables, what kind of problems does Brent Venables defense pose?
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. You're asking about Brent Venables and the defense?
Yeah,
they're super talented on defense. First of all, big, physical, athletic, and he's always been a guy that I think thinks outside the box a little bit what they do defensively, and is very aggressive. Create a lot of negative plays, a lot of sacks, and keep you off balance in some different fronts and some different blitzes, and they're somewhat exotic. I think I referenced earlier on a call a couple weeks ago that he's a guy that I've studied a bunch, my years as a coordinator, because I always admired, what he did schematically and how well his kids played, the effort they played with. So I was excited when he got named head coach at Oklahoma. Really felt like he was a home run hire there, and a ton of respect for him. And as a coach, and really all I know about him as a person. So he's outstanding, and it's certainly going to be a challenge to move the ball and score points against him.
How special is it for a service academy like Navy to be playing in a game that also honors military and the armed forces and what these players of yours are going to be going off and doing?
Yeah, it's awesome. We just got done doing that in the biggest stage and one of the biggest stages in college football. And to me, it's an opportunity to celebrate, our men and women in armed forces and our veterans, and celebrate our players who are going to serve their country. And so, to have an opportunity to be in an Armed Forces Bowl, and from what I understand about the bowl, they do some pretty neat things for wounded warriors and some other causes. And so to highlight, our armed forces and for us to play in that game is really meaningful.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good holiday.
You too, Scott.
Thanks.
So are you all going to use the time you're in Texas to get out, do some recruiting? I think a lot of times in the past when they've gone to this particular bowl, they've invited coaches and players over to practice. Are you going to try to use this as an opportunity to recruit?
Well, there's some certain restrictions that we have in regards to that, Wags, but when we get down there, I mean, we're down on the 23rd. We're going to practice that day. It's going to be like a tough Tuesday practice for us, and really, we get a couple opportunities this week before we cut our guys loose. We're not going to practice today. Initially, I was going to, but you coming out of that Army-Navy game, we're pretty banged up. Want to give them another day to recover. We'll practice here Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're going to let them go home for a few days. And so when we meet back up in Fort Worth, I mean, we've got our work cut out for us, in our preparation to get ready for the game.
So are you going to have practice each day leading up to the game, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, so Monday will be like a Tuesday practice for us, and the rest of the week will be structured like it normally is for us.
So, we talked about this with the Army game late, and then, you're trying to let the kids get home for a little bit. You are not able to use all the allotted bowl practices, and it's kind of a missed opportunity. Oklahoma's probably been practicing since they played their last regular season game,
yeah.
And I bet they spent a lot of that time treating it like a spring practice to give young guys a chance to develop. And you're not kind of getting that opportunity. What can you say about that? It just is what it is.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it makes it tough to do that here for sure. You'd like to, if you had a couple of weeks, you certainly would like to invest a lot of that time into your younger players, and we just simply don't have the opportunity to do that. Just because of the quick turnaround.
How many guys are you going to travel?
We'll take the same amount of players that we took to the Army game, so right around 110.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Wish we could take everybody. That's the unfortunate thing about being here. When I was playing, we got to go to a bowl game. Everybody got to go, and it was a reward for your team. And we can't take them all, and I wish we could. But I know these guys that don't get to go. It's been a long semester. I know they're excited about getting home and seeing their families, and which is why it's important for me to let these guys go home Wednesday and have a few days, and then hopefully catch a week or so, after the bowl game to get home and to rest and recover. And our guys we got finals this week, so there's our guys are pretty worn out and exhausted and got a lot on their plate, and so support for them to be able to get away and relax and get rejuvenated and see their families.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wags.
Victoria.
My only other question was, is there any Oklahoma game day traditions that you're excited to see again? Like Boomer Sooner or the Roughnecks? And then other than that, is there any Texas things you're excited to be back in the state for?
Well, the food in Texas is really good. Victoria.
Are you going to say Whataburger or are you going to say Tex-Mex?
Well, both. I'm
Okay.
gonna do both if I get a chance, for sure. But no, there's so many cool traditions at Oklahoma. I hope I don't hear the cannon being shot off too much. I don't want to see that wagon. Maybe
That'd be bad.
I
That'd be
want to see the
bad.
wagon. I only see the wagon one time. Hopefully it doesn't tip over. But no, it's going to be surreal. Seeing them across the sideline. It really is. I'm excited about it, and can't wait for it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Joe.
Yeah, just one more for me. You talked about how the only downside about your job is just being far from family. What does kind of your family support back here in Oklahoma mean to you? And it sounds like you guys are all still, pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, my parents have been awesome. Just the amount of support they've shown me, throughout the years. Early on in your coaching career, I mean, you're taking GA jobs, you're taking jobs, you're not making any money, just to try to get your way into the profession, and from just moral support, financial support at times that I needed. And I couldn't ask for better support from my parents and my sister and my brother, brother-in-law, and all those folks back there in Oklahoma.
Thanks.
All right, we've got about 6 more minutes. Does anyone have any other questions? Anyone else? Wags, not even you?
Wags is always good for one more.
You always got one more, Wags.
Come on, Wags.
Well, I'll ask you this. I mean, Kanya Udo jumped into the transfer portal about 15 minutes after the Army-Navy game. You talked about this earlier. I mean, do you have to do some, I don't want to call it damage control, do you have to try to talk to certain kids who you think might, be wanting more playing time, or, they weren't on the depth chart? I mean, how do you handle this? You try to talk to kids real quickly after the season, try to see where they're at and prevent that from happening?
No, I think, I've had an open door policy here. If kids think about leaving, they're disgruntled, they can always come in and talk to me. I feel like our team's in a really, really good place right now. I'm not overly concerned about it. At the end of the day, we want guys that want to be here. It takes a special young man to do what these guys do here. And I was a little surprised to see that, to be honest with you, especially right after the game. But no, it's not something I'm overly concerned about right now, Wags.
When it's obviously the sophomores that are the ones, because they're the ones that have to make a decision next year whether they're going to sign those 2-for-7 papers. Do you try to give attention to those sophomores and make sure that you feel like you know where they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a really good pulse on our players and our team, and if there are concerns, we try to address those as soon as we can.